Hey everyone, welcome to Massachusetts Sports Central. This is our recap of the Patriots' second preseason game on August 19th versus the Houston Texans. Pats lost 27-23, falling to 0-2 in the preseason. It was nice to see several starters get some action in this game, as basically none played in the first game against the Jaguars. The offense saw both Tom Brady and Gronk play. While we expect to see Tom Brady play some amount in the preseason, this was actually the first time Gronk has seen any preseason action since 2012. They didn't play much, but had a couple of series to start the game. Brady didn't look sharp in his first series, but came alive after an apparent interception was overturned upon review. He ended his short night 6 for 9 with 67 yards, including a 22-yard touchdown pass to Rex Burkhead. Speaking of Burkhead, he would be my pick for Pat's Offensive Player of the Game. He had a fairly lackluster 7 rushes for 20 yards, but in the passing game he had 3 receptions for 50 yards, including the touchdown catch. Now, some people argue the honor should go to DJ Foster, who outrushed Burkhead with 23 yards and had more receiving yards with 52, while also getting a TD pass that was slightly longer at 25 yards. However, I take Burkhead as more of Foster's stats were later in the game. By the time he caught his TD from Garoppolo, most of the Texans' backups were in, and a lot of his receiving yards were near the end of the game with Jacoby Brissett. So, Rex wins based on the level of competition faced, in my opinion. Now, talking about Garoppolo, he didn't look as good against the Texans as he did against the Jaguars. Mediocre numbers overall, going 15 for 23 with 145 yards, a TD, and a pick. The TD was the 25-yarder to Foster we just mentioned. He also lost a fumble that he got obliterated on during a sack. Now, this seemed to be a breakdown in the blocking, but even if he could not avoid the hit, he was not able to hold on to the ball. The pick was just a bad throw and a bad decision. Then Jacoby came in to finish the game. Again, like in the Jags game, he failed to punch in a score at the end of the game when they were within a touchdown. This time the Pats' night actually ended when his arm was hit before bringing his arm forward, and he fumbled, but got enough of his arm on it after it was loose to basically throw it out the back of the end zone for a safety, which basically ended the game. So far, Brissett has not looked very good at all. The more you see him, the easier it is to understand why they did not trade Jimmy G, even if they have no aspirations past having a solid backup for this season, since it doesn't look like that is Brissett. At this point, the talk is more if Jacoby sticks to the roster as a third QB, or if they give up on him and go with just 2. Now, I personally think they probably carry him as a third, but would not be shocked if they didn't, or if they traded him to a team that would be more interested in trying to develop him for a mid to late round pick. Now, on the defense, the Pats were once again burned by several big plays. Not quite as bad as the ones they gave up against the Jags, but we did see Houston put up plays of 33, 37, and 63 yards on them. While it is the preseason, this is a little more worrisome, as 2 of the plays in the 2 plays in the 30s came in the first half against mostly regulars, not the backups fighting for roster spots like all those plays against the against the Jaguars. In particular, Butler didn't look great and was the one that didn't hold his coverage on the 37-yard play. The pass rush was a weak spot as well. The team was already a little thin at defensive end after the retirement of Ninkovich and losing Rivers for the season to an ACL tear. Then in this game, they were still down Dietrich Wise, who was still out with a concussion issue from the last game, though he does seem to be back in practice now. And Trey Flowers did not play, so this helps explain some of the overall lackluster performance on the defensive side of the ball. So finally, on special teams, there were some positives. Biggest was a very nice game by Steven Gostkowski, making all 5 of his kicks. He had 2 extra points, as well as 2 mid-range field goals of 38 and 42 yards, and 1 long one of 51 yards. And they all looked good, being straight and with plenty of leg to spare. And he also looked good on all of his kickoffs as well. Now, on the other side of the specials ball, Cyrus Jones had a much better night than last week. While nothing worth noting on defense, which is actually good for him since the only thing worth noting last week was giving up a lot of big plays, he did more in the return game this week as well. Most notably, he had one great return for 32 yards, where he made a nice move to make the critical first guy miss and then followed his blocking well to find open space. This was easily his best moment so far. However, he did make a terrible play on a deep punt a little later, fielding it over his shoulder inside the 10 and getting brought down right away and having the offense start at the 9. Now, while you never know what will happen if he doesn't catch it, there was little doubt nothing good was going to happen by catching it. Maybe it takes a Houston bounce and they pin the Pats even deeper, but it also could have bounced the other way to give a little better position, or bounce too hard for the Texans and have it go into the end zone for a touchback. Either of which would have been far better than what ended up happening. He also had one other decent return near the end of the game. However, I do not rate this as highly as some other people are. While you can't get on a guy for turning nothing into something, he did a lot of sideline to sideline running and only was able to turn it upfield after a lot of this and having guys take some bad angles. And since this was late in the fourth, he was doing this against the back end of the special team unit for the Texans. So similar comment on Foster's performance earlier. You have to take this play as less impressive given the competition. If he was doing this in the first quarter against the top special teams unit, then you could give him a little more credit. But basically, most of the guys he was playing against are not even going to make a roster. All right, I think we're going to stop here. We can go a lot longer to discuss every detail of the game, but this covered most of the biggest observations and storylines from the game. If you have anything you think we missed that should be included, please let us know in the comments. And thank you for watching, and please like, comment, and share the video, and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on other social media. Facebook and Twitter are both at MA Sports Central. Thanks a lot, and we will see you soon.